Hey, Fiona.
How are you guys?
I'm good. How are you? I've also only met Fiona once. We had dinner in Boston, so I also need to get to know her better.
Yay. We were just chatting about the genesis of the podcast. I want to be in potent conversations with people about things that I think matter, but they can be as general as how we're living, how we're parenting, how we're living as citizens in the world, how we're doing relationships, how we're doing marriage, how we're doing growing up, how we're doing aging. There's all these things that are just wildly fascinating to me. And then I was like, wait a second. I've lived in New York for 35 years. And I know a lot of people that I admire. And I want to talk to them about things that matter. So that's where I come from.
And out of interest, what are your favorite podcasts, Tara?
I just did my Spotify Wrapped. I love Scott Galloway and Kara Swisher. I love, I've done some of the wellness ones like Huberman for a little while. I love Diary of a CEO. He's really good, I think. Yeah. I love Modern Wisdom. That's Chris Williamson or Wilkes. He's awesome. I really love this new woman, Sarah something. It's like health, menopause, women's health, aging stuff. Those are like the big ones. And I notice most of them are men.
Fiona, what about you?
Honestly, the only podcast I listen to really regularly is The Daily every day. Okay. But like I'll listen to episodes like here and there, but I don't like religiously have someone that I'm obsessed with.
Okay.
I'm fascinated by
you and Michael Barbaro.
You're Michael. Oh yeah. What about you guys?
Yeah. What about you, Georgia? Do you listen to podcasts?
On occasion, I podcast. I listen to The Daily a lot. I love the Ezra Klein show a lot. I find that really interesting. And then this isn't like politics related, but we both like The Rest is History.
We love The Rest is History.
What is that?
I wanted to get into the history stuff. It requires a come down to go into the history.
It's interesting. So it's funny actually because The Rest is History is two sort of very public school educated, middle-aged white Englishmen, but they are funny and they don't take it, and the banter between them is great. Like the bands, they make it funny. And bizarrely, it's just one podcast of the year on Apple because it's for an English podcast to be. But it's gotten better now. They sort of do long form episodes. They've just done 5 episodes on Jack the Ripper. Before that, it was 4 episodes on Queen Elizabeth I. Georgia loved, what was it? Mary Queen of Scots.
That was really interesting.
Oh. And then
walking around laying around the house, making dinner, you throw it on and listen, or how do you do it together? How is that a together?
We've never together, but like my mum told me to listen to it when I was complaining about how I don't know anything about anything. So she's like, listen to the podcast, check out this one. And I checked it out and I went through and I was complaining that I didn't think any of them would be interesting as well, but they were. But we've discussed it.
The Daily, it's interesting. The Daily used to be absolutely my go-to as well. I listen to it every day, but I've kind of stopped. I look at the topic.
Yeah.
And then I decide whether or not it's of interest to me. But I've, as I put in my email to you, my podcasts have gone slightly right of centre, and I'm kind of quite a big trigonometry fan now.
Ooh.
Yes.
I don't know that one.
Okay, so trigonometry is 2 guys, Konstantin Kissin and Francis Foster, I think. And if you would have told me 2.5 years ago that I'd be listening to trigonometry, I would have laughed at you. They just have the conversation. It can be a deeply uncomfortable conversation, but it's they managed to have a polite conversation. So they had Dave Smith on. Dave Smith's this new comedian / historian that thinks he knows everything and he actually knows nothing. He was on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan platformed him, gave him quite a big platform.
Is he right or leftish?
He's right. He's absolutely right.
Got it.
And then my favourite one is they had Douglas Murray on, also very right.
Yes.
And the point Douglas Murray was making during that was, if you're going to have people on podcasts giving their opinions, and of course everyone is entitled to an opinion, you've got to be able to back it up with fact, and you've got to be. So I think this was in relation to Joe Rogan having on Daryl, someone who's sort of Holocaust denier, or not even a Holocaust denier. I think he's decided that maybe Hitler wasn't the baddie in World War II, for example, and maybe Churchill was a bit, just have to redo these things.
There's a lot of subversive for subversive's sake, exactly. I think, and it's for hits. They're just getting hits, media hits. Anyway.
Well, no, you're right. I'm trying to work out what Candace Owens is doing. You tell me what you think she's doing. What is she doing?
I mean, I feel like she has harnessed she is like a independent woman, is all these things, so she's allowed to say this super conservative crazy thing because she does have her own company, she does have kids, blah blah blah, and she's Black, so she's allowed to say the kind of crazy thing that a white conservative stay-at-home mom couldn't say. And then because she said all these crazy things, people that are agreeing with her are, oh my god, I've never heard someone be able to say that, all these libtards, like blah blah blah. And then everyone else is shocked. So then everyone watching kind of like a bus crashing.
I was going to say, so it's car crash podcasting.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. And so also I should have said, I don't listen to Joe Rogan that much. I used to.
I don't either.
But the thing about, he gets just such good guests, you know what I mean? And I was very compelled by the fact that basically podcasts won the American election. And that you use the word platformed. And I think the left say someone gets platformed. The right never says they platformed that leftist thinker, because they don't think that way. They just think, let's just have a conversation. We had them on the show. We didn't platform or not platform them. It's
but and which is absolutely fine. But then I do believe, if you are going to put someone on with, I think Fiona used the word, quite subversive views. I don't know who used it. You need to be able to challenge back, because otherwise you're giving out incorrect information. So I'm all up for the conversation. Every conversation should be had politely, calmly. Let's go back to Tucker Carlson having on Nick Fuentes.
I was just going to talk about that. Yeah. And All In. I followed the All In. I got into this podcast All In. It's 4 mega zillionaire dudes from tech. They're all sycophants on Trump now, and they're all they had Tucker on. They didn't challenge Tucker on craziness, and same with Nick Fuentes and Tucker. They don't challenge, but then you're like, I don't want to interrupt. I want to let them speak. So I don't. But it's shocking how
it is an interesting format to have politics play out on. If you have a talk show, the person, their job is to be objective and to ask every single question, but a podcast host has no responsibility to anyone and can say whatever they want, but we take what they're saying as fact.
100%. And I've gotten even some notes on our very small podcast journey. I got some notes, and they're like, you sometimes let people talk too long, and you don't push back to get the. And I was like, I know, but I wouldn't want to be rude. I mean, I invited them to talk and express themselves. But then I'm like, so then you just see already it's about content. It's about the conflict creates the content. And getting someone to say some really weird thing.
Controversial.
Yeah.
And then getting a 10-second clip, and then that 10-second clip is good, but then they watch the whole thing and they're like, what the hell is this?
Well, and that's where I feel, and I'm dying to talk about your rightward journey, because I've been on my own rightward journey, and it's incredible.
And then I think we should talk about what the daughters think about it.
Yeah, it's incredible. What it feels like to have a mother who...
You'll be exactly where we are. Give yourselves 30 years. It'll be a natural progression, I assure you.
Well, age naturally does create... Yes. You just become a little more conservative with age. And it's true. Walking around New York, I used to love it being dirty and disgusting. Now I'm like... What, the street is fucking dirty. Clean it up. It makes me
It's fucking dirty, and there are weirdos who shout at you. And no, it's not cool. It's not cool.
Yeah, and now I seem like I'm this uptight woman. I was the most wild East Village girl of literally all time, And so...
I know, but there is that one. If you're not a socialist when you're young, you don't have a heart. And you are, if you're not when you're older, you haven't got a brain. So, have you never heard that before?
No.
I've heard that before.
He used to say, if you're not a socialist when you're young, you don't have a heart, but if you are still one when you're older, you don't have a brain. Which is a bit harsh, I suppose, but I remember, I think, being told that as a kind of lefty young person.
That's why I started listening daily, because like I'm a journalism student, and every day they have you read the Boston Globe and the Washington Post or something, but I never could get myself to do it. So then I was like, I have to listen to daily because all these people are saying insane stuff and I need to be able to fight back.
Okay, so go on. Can you give us an example? I'd love to know what comes up in your.
In Northeastern, there's a lot of, at least in the journalism school, there's like a lot of sameness. But then I feel like, for me, like, I grew up, like, going to the most liberal schools, the most blah, 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 like, whatever. So the fact that there's guys in my boyfriend moved in with 2 new guys, and they both are Trump supporters. And I've literally never, ever been around one. Like, it's like a wild animal. And I'm like, at the beginning of the year, I was like, I feel unsafe in this house. I don't know what to do. Literally, that's how I felt. I'm like, I genuinely don't know what to do. I cannot go to your house. If I see these people, I'm gonna be mad and I don't know what to do. And then I had to like get over myself and be like, everyone has different views. And
are they nice people?
I have a letter from Fiona from camp. She went to summer camp in Maine for 3 weeks.
Right.
Said, there is a Trump supporter in my cabin.
What? Like, literally, it's like devastating. Like, I didn't know what to do.
Like, what does that even mean? Like, how do we, like...
Which is not good. Like, that should not be my reaction. And now, I don't agree with them, nor do I, like, really like them. I hope they never watch this, ever. But I'm able to understand, okay, he's from Georgia. He thinks the Civil War was about economics. That's not really his fault. Like, the school taught him that. But I don't agree with him, but, like, he's not like, the scum of the earth and, like, can't just vomit every time I, like, walk into the house. Like, it's just not good for anyone in the situation. Well, so that's, like, a kind of example.
You put your big girl pants on and you...
Yeah, and then my main thing with it was I felt I literally was invisible to them. All the other guys would say, "Hi, Fiona, like, how are you doing?" And they're just literally, like, I'm seen right through. So then for me, it's building more stereotypes about Trump supporters. I'm like, okay, so you're sexist. You literally think I'm a piece of dumb bricks, and I don't want to be around you because now I feel like a piece of dumb bricks. So just having to get through that initial feeling and being like, okay, maybe they just didn't know me that well, and they didn't want to say hi. Because, like, whatever. And found things to like about them, but I've also maintained my beliefs through it. So I think that that's been a good process for me. But it's also not as hard as for me than it is for Harry or his gay roommate. So, like...
I'm finding it's harder for me now to talk to my steadfastly liberal friends about politics than it is for anyone that I have divergent views with. That is for me. Because I'm finding there's like a guard that comes up of like, oh my God, you are thinking about things perhaps in a slightly different way. And it might be a way I don't agree with. And I'm shutting down. Like, I can't, it's like they think that there's like a murderer in the room or something, you know, because you're like, but wait, is this categoric? Is this true? And I'm really struggling with, is this true? You know, and I think for us, generationally, to the theme of our podcast, is Jody and I grew up like listening to the news at night, and there was one voice, and there was one guy, Walter Cronkite, or whoever was on the BB, whatever, but telling you, these are the events of the day, and this is what happened. Mm-hmm. This country invaded this country, you know, or...
100%. And America, capitalism good, and Russia, Soviet Union, communism bad.
Yeah.
It's very easy, binary world, and it felt super comfortable. You know, you knew who the good guys were, and you knew who the bad guys were, and we were on the right team and the winning team.
Yeah, and Republicans were white guys at country clubs, counting their money, drinking a scotch, and like raping people in the back room.
Ew! Oh my God!
No. Low-key rapists, misogynist rapists, money counting, money hoarding white men.
I mean, you did just describe Trump, though. You know that, right?
Literally. Yes. Okay. So that's why I just was like, no decent human being, I grew up this way, could possibly not want universal health care. Like, I just...
It's really funny you say that, because when I think back to the 2012 election, I thought Mitt Romney was, Beelzebub. And it turns out now he was just quite a nice man that I might have disagreed with at the time.
100%. I thought, I was like, he worked for Bain Consulting.
Yes.
He's a pig.
Yes. Absolutely. What were his thingies of women? I have binders full of women, and I was outraged at his sexism. And, ultimately, give me Mitt Romney any day of the week now. I'll have him, I'll take him. He's a reasonably normal human being.
Well, like, what if...
It actually would be a smart marketing run for him to run again after Trump and be like, this was what we were before Trump.
It's interesting that you use the word binary, Jody, because now I feel like the world is so binary, too. It's like, you're woke or you're not woke. What are you? Are you this sexuality or are you that sexuality? And then you have to stand so firmly in it. I think growing up, it was, maybe I'm a gay. And it was like a secret thing you had inside of you. And then it came out. And not that it was better, but I just feel like now it's like you have to know everything and decide and know where you stand. And you have to be really clear about it when you're 13 years old.
You have to identify with a community to make sure that, so that people in that community know that you're one of them, you're safe, we'll protect you, but, these others, they won't, they're the enemy. And it's just so much, separatism in politics and in identity is all just each side trying to grab you and put you in a community so that you can know, who the enemies are, who the friends are, and there's no communication between any of them.
It is fucked up.
Also, Georgia's a political science student, so I'm interested in have you had a professor that you didn't agree with? Or have you had kids in your class that you didn't agree with? Did it just blow up?
Well, Northeastern is just so liberal.
Yeah.
It's so liberal, especially the political science department. All my professors have been very, very liberal. Pretty much everyone in my class has been super liberal. But I've had conversations with Northeastern students who aren't in poli-sci who I've disagreed with. I don't know, sometimes it went fine and they would hear me out and I could be like, okay, well, this is my opinion. And then sometimes I would get, I remember around election time, one of my friends told me he was pretty certain he was going to vote for Trump, and I wanted to sit down and discuss that with him to see why. And he didn't really have any good reason why, and he couldn't explain to me why. And when I try and talk about it with him, he'd just get frustrated and shut off. And now it's at a point where I've got other people texting me being like, hey, can you talk to him? Because he won't listen to me. I'm like, he won't listen to me either. He doesn't really know what he's talking about because he won't do any research. And
it was a bomb in your friend group, right?
Yeah, it was a big deal. Right?
Yeah.
I can't help but feel a little bit sorry for him.
No, but I felt sorry for him in the sense of I didn't want him to feel like I was attacking him. I just wanted to have a conversation about it so he knew what he was doing. He was from New York anyway, so it doesn't really make a huge difference.
Yeah.
He's someone I was very close to, and I wanted to know why he has these views, and it just kind of when we start discussing it, he'd say little things that would send off red flags in my head, we have very, very fundamentally different views to the point where I don't think that you respect me as a person.
He would say?
No, I would say like that.
So can you, for example, what were his
just
views?
Things where we talk about sex and women and that kind of thing. He'd just say certain things that would set off and he would say things, why should it impact him because he's grown up wealthy and he's not worried about having somewhere to live and he doesn't need to be on benefits, so why should he care? And I think that just showed me a very negative side of his character that I couldn't look past.
This is the second time in this conversation that we've been talking about a Trump supporter and their views on women came up. And
I was literally gonna say that Harry, my boyfriend, makes fun of me all the time because he's like, why are you such a feminist and only a feminist? Because it is an inherent...
You say to him, and why aren't you?
Well, yeah, of course, but it's an inherent thing to care more about the things that affect you. So I'm white, I'm from a privileged background or whatever, so it's the women thing. Women, but it is hypocritical because that's a long list of all these things. He knows that he's a feminist too, but he calls me on my bullshit because we'll get so pissed off about if they're sexist or whatever, but I'm not even thinking about it if they're saying X, Y, Z about SNAP benefits or whatever, so I just it's calling me out on my own thing, which I think is interesting.
What I'd like to talk about what feminism means. Jody and I we're Gen X, I think, firmly Gen X.
Firmly, 1971 born.
72, thank you. Before women could have a credit card.
Yes. Women got the right to vote in Switzerland in the year I was born. Switzerland, 1971.
That's crazy.
I'm pretty sure that's true. I haven't made
I
it up.
was
But
born-
I'm sure that is, yeah.
My mother couldn't get a credit card or get a mortgage on her own. So, but you know what feminism? Because I read some books the past couple of years, and I went into a thing around feminism that was really different than what I had been in for a long time, and how I was raised. You know, Gen X girls, most of us in somewhat liberal areas, I think. I was raised, you can do anything boys can do. Anything a boy can do, you can do better, maybe even better, you know. Make your own money, make your own thing, be autonomous, never rely on a man, never, never, never. The worst thing you can do is rely on a man. These are the messages I kind of got. It was like,
always have your own bank account.
I was going to say that.
Remember that one? Always. You always have a separate bank account. You can have a joint one, but make sure you've got a little bit on the side just in case. You never know. That was...
And I feel like the tenor of the male-female relationship for me was competitive. And so I was always competing with boys in my class or even potential romantic partners. Like I would be like jousty, and that's like a new... Yeah, there's always like a spicy girl who's going to be competitive or whatever. But I think this is... I'm articulating a weird, hard thing. I'm making a big leap here, but men and women now, we are competitive like brothers and sisters. The polarity of this is man's work and this is women's work. You know, these are not, there's not a lot of polarity because we're the same. You know, I can do the same thing men can do because we're all working, most of us on our fucking computers with our brains in the knowledge economy, right? So it doesn't matter whether you're going to pay someone $250,000, a man or a woman, to do your strategy for your brand or something. You know, it doesn't matter. Whereas, so like, where does being a woman matter? Where does being a man matter? And I think people are upset, including these Trump guys or including whoever. Where do I get to be a woman? And what does that even mean? You know, where do I get to be a man? And where does that even mean? Because we're basically the same. Except for...
Especially when it comes to dating. I still want the guy to pay. I still want the guy to pick me up from my house and like be chivalrous. And I don't care. That's non-negotiable for me. But it's not very feminist. I think a lot of people want that. Like a traditional whatever.
But the men are not making more money, particularly in your cohort. Baby boomers, Gen X, the men are still, I think statistically, this would be something to look at whether it's a fact, are making more money. You know, on the dollar, so to speak.
They definitely are. Well, they definitely are making more money. Look, the reality in the economic environment we live in is that these questions aren't as simple anymore. I mean, we go, you know, if right-wing men want women to have traditional gender, you know, female gender roles at home, then they're going to have to work 1 or 2 or maybe 3 jobs. That's all very good and well, but can you know, provide the family with what we would have had if we had 2 incomes? There are a lot of women who want to stay home and raise children and do that, and that is absolutely fine. You know, there are and there are men who want to stay home and raise the kids, and vice versa. And it's I'm sure we'll get into it. This kind of how hard it is for young men nowadays, and how they've lost their power, and how they've... And in all honesty, until quite recently, I was rolling my eyes at that and going, oh, poor boys, isn't it awful? But it does seem to be a thing. And
it is a thing. I just wrote an article about it.
Okay, tell me more.
It's not like poor boys, it's like girls have been struggling to be in their voice and be in their power and have autonomy, and 100%. But like, I know that most women want men who feel empowered and esteemed and useful and valuable. They want those types of men, and they're not feeling that great. And then they're not operating in the world in a way that is exciting and interesting for a lot of women.
And then that's not good for anyone.
No, it's not. And then they sit at home and get more and more frustrated and actually turn their hatred on women.
Yeah, and watch like gross porn and like.
Now, and Elon Musk just launched his porn bot.
No, his porn. Tell us about Elon's porn bot.
I can't remember what it is.
That's a sentence I never thought would come out my mouth. Tell us more about Elon's porn bot.
It's basically the movie Her. I don't know if you guys know.
Yes, Scarlett Johansson.
Yes, Georgia and Fiona.
They say a man falls in love with his avatar kind of thing, and the voice is put on by Scarlett Johansson.
Yes, but he falls in love with an avatar, and it's a life of everyone on their phones living through screens. And you're going to be like, oh my God, this is what's happening.
It's today.
Yeah, you're going to freak out. It's like freaky how prescient it was. But the men are going to be like, why am I going to deal with some spicy woman when I can just listen to like a hot voice tell me I'm amazing and like jerk off and go to bed? For real. But that is literally what is happening.
Ew.
Deal with some bitch who's like, you didn't pick me up at the thing. You know what I mean? Or whatever.
Okay, wait. But let me give you guys the highlights on my article. This was my final for my journalism class. But basically, I had this hypothesis about Hinge, and people are lonely and Hinge is the culprit was like kind of my thesis. So I started interviewing all these people, and I interviewed this professor at BC who has an assignment to ask someone out on a date that she started 6 years ago because she noticed that no one at BC was dating. She had like a small capstone class, and only one of the people in it had been on a date in either high school or college. So she was like shocked. She was, all of you guys need to go ask someone on a date right now or else you're failing this class. And none of them could get a date. So then she was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So then, anyway, so like now it's been 6 years or something. And she was telling me her like kind of demographics and like what she's gotten out of it. And she was like, the only people that have regularly come into this office and weeped were men. Routinely. Because she was like, there is a real loneliness there. And she said that women have an easier time finding community within other women. Yes. And like it's true, like your girlfriends, it's just so close, and guys have really close friends, but they don't like, they're not gonna go like talk about, I mean it's a stereotype, but it's true, they're not gonna go talk about their feelings for like 40 hours a day with their guy friends, and I would gladly do it.
Men talk about their feelings with their wives and their girlfriends.
Yes.
That's what they do. They
do. And hopefully with their mums and dads as well though, so that's something.
Men socialize shoulder to shoulder looking at a game, fishing, a river they're fishing in.
Yeah, you need an activity.
Women,
like when me and Georgia hang out, we just go hang out. It doesn't matter what we're doing.
Women like, socialize face to face. Men socialize shoulder to shoulder.
I have to be honest though, Craig, the astonishing thing about my husband actually,
which is funny because his dad is named Craig.
Yeah. I was 23 when I met Craig. I don't know what I was thinking. I just got lucky. Like I chose the right man. Like it could have gone any way. Like I didn't realize that the attributes he had were actually the attributes I wanted. You know, and it really, I genuinely
and
believe.
she turned him down a few times.
He's got this incredible group of male friends, and they've been friendly since they were teenagers.
And that makes,
it's so unusual. And it just so happens that the partners, the women, we get on too. I mean, they're not my women. I've got my separate group of girlfriends, but we all go on. But they do have a community, and they do get together every few months and go out for a pub dinner or something and chat to each other, and they do reach out to each other. But I am very much aware of how unusual that is.
It's the fact they've been close for so long, they've grown up together.
But why don't other men have those friendships that go back so long?
Well, it's interesting because in traditionally conservative cultures in the U.S., you have fraternity brothers.
Yes.
You have all this stuff. And we're always like, oh my God, that's so fucking lame. And they help each other. They hook each other up with jobs. They support each other, you know.
They also can be really insufferable from someone who's around a lot of them.
But so can women in a group be insufferable.
Yeah. But with the frats and the country clubs, like from my experiences with frat boys, it's like a very organized collection group thing. Like it's not like, oh, we hang out because I like spending time with you and I can talk to you and da-da-da. Like they're put into groups and you're interviewed and you get in and then like you're in it and like I can't really imagine like my frat friends sitting around talking about their feelings and being there for each other in that way. And I honestly would say
it's a hierarchy.
Yeah, and I think less so with like, neither me or Fiona are in a sorority, but I think with like a lot of my friends who are in sorority, it's on the lesser side of my girlfriends who have found other girls in their sororities that they feel they can be as close and honest with as the friends that they've made naturally.
Yeah.
But this goes back, you know, the story you just told, Fiona, about no one getting a date, that is terrifying.
Terrifying.
It goes back to, Tara and I remember when we wanted to ring a friend when we were younger, we'd have to ring that friend's house and say, "Hi, Mrs. Smith, it's Jody speaking. May I speak to so-and-so, please?" I had to converse with other adults that weren't my parents.
And my stepmother would be like, "No, she's not here," staring at me and hang up the phone. Okay?
He sounds nice.
Yeah.
And I remember with my girls, and I always made you do it. Like, I think it was your sister a bit more than you, but I'd be like, I'd pull up outside a shop and say, "Can you pop in and get a pint of milk, please?" And they'd be like, "No, I'm scared. I can't talk to the shopkeeper."
There were so many things. Like it was that when we leave someone's house, you go to the parents, you say thank you for having me. Like with you and Dad, that was always growing up. Like very much me and my sister being pushed to talk to other people, to talk to people who don't know, like sending us to summer camp. And I think a lot of kids don't get that from their parents.
Which I think honestly really shows in Georgia. I always see her as someone who's very socially just knows what to do. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like she's very good at, "Hi, I'm Georgia," like, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, in 5 minutes, if I invite her to a party, like, she's completely fine, which is such a skill. You know what I mean?
I mean, you have the same skill. Everyone you've ever met, everything we've ever been to.
Yeah.
You're both very lucky. It doesn't, I have two very different daughters. Katie is the sweetest and kindest and loveliest young lady, but this stuff doesn't come easily to her. So it comes easily to Georgia. Georgia, as a little girl, would go up to random kids in the park and say, "Hi, I'm Georgia. Would you like to go on the slide with me?" It was always terribly, terribly sweet. But but at the same time, she didn't want to do those slightly uncomfortable things that I believe you have to do as a young person. You have to talk to adults who aren't your parents.
I think when we grow up, we had so much stuff that we were forced to do. Yeah. Whether you had a good childhood, a bad childhood, it doesn't matter. You were forced to sit in the back of the car and stare out the window and be bored for 3 hours. Because you're driving somewhere, you had no phone, you weren't allowed to touch the radio, you weren't allowed, there was no movies, there was nothing. You literally just had to stare out the window or make conversation with the people.
Mindfulness.
Yes.
Forced
you
mindfulness.
had to talk to other adults. You had to say, "Hi, Mrs. La La La."
Yes.
But now, because of technology and the way, there's so much optionality. Like a child can go through their whole life barely speaking to an adult. Yeah. Working through a portal. I remember Fiona, when she was younger, I was like, "But what about her mother? I need to speak to her mother." And Fiona would be like, "What are you talking about? I already made the plan directly with this 12-year-old. You don't need to be involved." No. And I was like,
you do have to
"You're not an autonomous person yet." It was like so confusing.
No. This used to piss me off quite a bit. Honestly, I found these other parents incredibly rude. You know, if Georgia went to stay somewhere and she was young and I didn't know the parents, if I knew the parents fine, I would call or text ahead of time, introducing myself. "Hi, this is..." The amount of kids that came over to my house and stayed here, and not with the greatest manners, sometimes not leave. If I, God forbid, would never leave a house without saying "Thank you for having me, thank you so much for..." I wasn't happy with... I absolutely blame parents here. I blame parents. I said this, I'm a teacher, I hang out with young people all the time. All the mad kids have mad parents, okay? It's... I really do blame it. It's not hard to teach your children basic manners and basic thing. We are having a crisis of parenting in this country, a crisis of parenting. We have young people going to start school at the age of 3 and 4. They can't, some of them are not toilet trained. They don't know their first words because mum and dad have never read them a book. They have absolutely no table manners because they do not sit down and eat as a family. I see this with my great nieces and my great nephews who've got their own iPads. So the adults have to sit around the table whilst said children have separate iPads and they've got their headphones on.
It's insane.
So how are children meant to learn to talk? So
it's like there's too much choice. There's too much optionality. Like I grew up, it was, "We're having lasagna tonight."
Yes.
Done. And it was, and
more than that, Mondays was lasagna, Tuesdays was fish balls, Wednesdays were this, and there was no changing.
And there was no "what do you want?"
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
There was no choice. Whereas we have so much choice now, it's like killing us. Choice I think is killing us.
Oh, it's
Oh,
just
do you want
beginning.
Indian or what do you feel? I don't know. I want Shake Shack. Oh, sushi.
Analysis paralysis.
Yes.
100%. But
Fancy
it's also,
Oh, well, this guy is like kind of annoying, and I didn't like the way he laughed. I think I'll go.
That's a really good point.
I
Because
think I'll
that's,
go
I
with my
experienced
dating.
that.
Let me go find another guy that doesn't have
Yeah.
that. You
I
know.
know.
That was another part of my article, was that you could engineer the perfect person with like these prompts and whatever and find like the perfect match, and even then you can meet them in person and they could like have a lisp and like you think it's
there
weird.
is no perfect match.
Yeah,
There never
of
was.
course.
But
I
it's
don't
also-
know who's been telling young people that this thing exists.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
No.
In my opinion, all you can do is find someone whose annoying habits don't want to make you kill them. That's as
Totally.
that's literally as good as marriage gets, okay?
That's another thing that's come from social media and come from movies is like when you're only seeing the best parts of people's relationships and people's lives. And
Yes.
it's like that's what makes you think that it has to be like that. And I learned about like this idealization of true love and soulmates, which like it doesn't exist and it's unlikely that you'll find that. I think when everyone's looking for that, the second that something seems a little bit wrong, they won't develop the relationship any further. There won't be a second date or anything like that.
Yeah.
You won't take the time to get to know someone properly because of just like an instinct of like, oh no, I don't like the way that they cut up their whatever.
No, it's absolutely true. Sorry, because Georgia, I also assumed in my early 20s that when I met the right man, my insides would start moving. Yes, my loins would my loins would do things.
Daughters
Yeah.
love when mothers say loins.
Loins. My loins.
I think it's just the loins.
I just assumed something would happen. Anyway, I met the lovely Craig, and my loins didn't move. I just thought he was a perfectly nice man, and I thought to myself, let me be his friend, and we did. We became incredibly good friends for 6 months. In fact, I met him in January, and we got a bit drunk on his birthday, which is in March, and we kissed, and I was like, no, this is wrong. We meant to be friends. About 4 months after that, he went out for lunch with a lady called Lee, who is now my best friend, and her husband is Craig's business partner. We're very close. She kind of raised Georgia as much as I did.
Aww.
And unbeknown to me, Craig said to her, I don't know what to do. There's this woman, I really, really like her, but she doesn't seem to be interested in anything else other than friendship. And Lee's advice was, tell her to fuck off.
And he did.
And he did. He came to me and he said, look, I really like you. I completely get that you don't feel the same way, but in all honesty, I've got enough friends. My life's pretty full that way, so I don't really want to see you anymore. And I was like, what do you mean?
So he had
Yeah,
a
that's it.
boundary. He had
a boundary and he stuck
and he
to
was
it.
clear. And he was clear. You know.
I don't think people would do that now. Like I don't think boys are.
I don't think a guy would do that now.
doing that.
Really?
Like they'd ghost you or like they'd like I don't know.
They ghost you, or they like subtly be like kind of mean.
Yeah.
And like kind of say mean things to their friends, and it would like get back to you like 3 weeks later.
So she was leading
So
me
by
on and she
optionality, they would spread themselves. They would spread the love around. They would maybe develop another friendship, and they would.
Yeah.
Because you can do whatever you want now. Whereas I think when we were younger, it was like, oh wait, this is really a special connection. You can't just go get another one tomorrow. You know, it's special. You know, and I feel like when you have so much choice, you don't realize how special everything is.
But that, and on top of that, I do worry that young people are getting married for the weddings. I don't think anyone really knows what is involved in a marriage, and I keep on ruining it for lovely young people and going, you do know this is really freaking hard and tricky, and like, are you sure you want to do this, and are you sure you want kids, and all these questions, because I want young people to know that you have to try every single day. Every day. I've been with Craig for 30 years. We're married for 26, 27 years. The best thing I learned with him is I can tell him to fuck off in my head and he can't hear me. So I can, does that make sense? So I can just go, oh, darling, all right then. And in my head I'm going, oh, I fucking hate you, like the worst thing ever. But it avoided the argument. It took me 15 years of marriage to learn that. It took me 15 years of marriage to learn to say sorry, even if I didn't mean it. Just say sorry, it moves on. Sorry, and you get to the next thing. So we have to be honest about relationships to young people, because we aren't. It is hard every day. I don't know what young people think happy marriages are. Ask any long-term married couple, they'll say, it's been really hard and I've had to compromise a lot.
I also think people are doing it alone because of the death of that, because organized religion isn't really a third space that's really active in people's lives now. We have home and we have work. And then that's it. And so
I'll add to that. You're absolutely right, Tara, and I'll add to that. It's been replaced by therapy. And so one of the things, so you mentioned 3
individual therapy, I'll note.
Precisely.
Individual, not group.
Narcissistic individual therapy, 100%. So you mentioned 3 ladies on an email, and I wasn't aware of them, so I picked one. I picked the shortest podcast I could find, and it was the last one you mentioned, Pretty Blonde Girl. Anyway, the podcast I listened to, and and I hadn't considered this, she said that I think it's 1 in 5 young women, I think between the ages of 18 and 30, are in, I wouldn't call it permanent therapy, but regular therapy, which has absolutely taken the place of organised religion. So when we used to do our daily prayers, we now do our daily affirmations. Instead, the key difference is that religion comes with community. It comes with looking out for your neighbour. I worry about the absolute sheer narcissism of the therapy that young women are engaging in. If he doesn't see you, if he doesn't make you feel this way, if he doesn't, he's not for you. Yeah? There's this kind of like, if he isn't giving you everything you want and need, if your feelings aren't being met, it goes beyond that. It goes towards parenting. I don't know if you have any examples. I have 2 or 3 friends whose daughters stopped talking to them for a while because until they could come to terms with their, traumatic childhoods, and I think these traumatic childhood involved, a bit of a shouty mum. I was a bit of a shouty mum. I'll admit it. I was shouty on occasion.
She was shouty.
I was shouty.
But I was also not a very enjoyable person to be around for a while.
Yeah, thank you for acknowledging that. Yeah, I shouted. I'm not perfect. But honestly, I've got three friends whose daughters have turned around and looked back on what I would say is perfectly, normal upbringings and childhoods, and are finding those problematic. And you weren't there for me. Yes, I was working my ass off to send you to college. Mm-hmm. So I'm finding young people. I'm finding, not you. You are lovely, and you are lovely.
Nobody on this podcast.
Nobody on this podcast. We are all lovely. I'm finding the narcissism involved in. I've said this to both my girls recently. The only thing I regret saying to them is, "Oh, darlings, nothing matters as long as you're happy." What a load of bullshit.
It's not right.
It's not right. Who on earth tells anyone they have the right to be happy every day? You're going to wake up some days. If you're lucky, you'll be happy 3 days a week.
Yeah.
The rest just, managing through and being okay. And then when they can't find the happiness or the being okay, which is sufficient in my opinion, they look for a label. And an ADD label, an autistic label. Can't begin to tell you.
A political label, a sexual preference label, this label, something to anchor oneself in that I matter, and that I matter. Like a lot of times when I've looked at things where I've gone off, it's like, I just want to matter. Every minute is not going to be Instagram worthy of life. There's a lot of in-between parts of life that are just icky and boring and gray and not the things,
Yeah, like deeply uncomfortable. Deeply uncomfortable.
And we have to do a lot of shit we don't want
to do.
Well, on this note, it's like, I feel like I've been talking to my mom about this a lot recently, and like, I feel like it's really hard to, especially in a place like Northeastern, like, I think Georgia had a different experience because she came in freshman year and like was in the dorms. I transferred there, and I lived in an apartment alone off campus and had nobody. Literally our dads had to set us up to become friends, and like, thank God. But I find it very hard to come by community at Northeastern, but there's a part of it that is that narcissism thing, that people have these boundaries. Like, for example, Georgia's last night, I was so tired. I did not want to go out, but I'm like, I need to see Georgia before she leaves. I would be an asshole if I didn't go. And of course, there's no question I'm going. But I don't think a lot of other people would be like, I'm going to make myself uncomfortable to go and say goodbye to my friend. And they have to understand because I was tired. No, I don't understand though. I wanted to see you before you left. Like, no. You know what I mean? You have to be uncomfortable and go out of your way to have good friends. Yeah. And if you have good friends, you'll have community. And if you have community, then you won't be depressed. Like, you're tired because you're depressed because it's like a cycle, you know? And I feel like that is one of the biggest things I've experienced on like a day-to-day level with my friends, that it's really disappointing when they can't come through to me for me in the ways that I feel like I'm coming through for them because they're tired, they want to watch a show and curl up in bed or whatever.
That's so interesting.
There's a lot of comfort. There's like, because the bed is so cozy, and then you can do things from the bed, like get your computer out, and then you can do TikTok, and then you can educate.
But maybe you'll write your paper, but like
write your paper, sort of. You can chat. You can create an empire now from your bed.
Yeah. But what was Georgia gonna say? I felt you.
It does. I was gonna go from what you said. Like, it does become a very cyclical issue of like in Northeastern specifically with the not finding a community. Like, I found it really difficult past maybe the second week of freshman year.
Yeah.
The first 2 weeks, everyone's looking for friends. No one knows each other. But then once everyone felt a little bit more comfortable, like, that was it. No one tried anymore. And growing up, you always told me that, like, to make friends and to whatever, you have to step out of your comfort zone. You have to talk to people. Like, I made friends growing up by going up to them and being like, hi, I'm Georgia. Blah, blah, blah. My favorite color's green. And that's what worked for me. And I think a lot of people aren't willing to do that. So I've got friends at Northeastern who, like, they complain that they don't have any friends and they feel lonely. But then when I say, okay, well, do you want to come out with me? They go, oh, no, like,
I don't know them.
And I don't know these people.
I don't know them. It'll be uncomfortable for me. Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know anyone. I'm 20. I don't know no one
that goes
at all.
to the parenting of go into the store. Could you please run in and grab the apples that I need for the thing? I don't want to go in there. I don't know. You gotta go in this. You gotta. Exactly. You know, I can't tell you how many teenagers come in and out of this house. They don't talk to me. Okay. I'm like. They just like, hi, and they run upstairs because they're like so afraid of a mom, you know, like it's her mother. What? You know,
but you need to, like, you were both saying how when you have to call when you're younger, you have to say hi to the parents, and they're like, we don't even have to ring each other's doorbells now. Like, none of my friends will ring my doorbell, and I won't ring anyone.
I'll just call.
Yeah. I'll call and be like, I'm here, and then they need to come get me, and then they need to walk me in the house and take me upstairs, and I don't know why, but I just don't want to ring the doorbell and have the parents answer and have to be like, hi.
Yeah. Because it's a culture of the unknown is not good. You know,
but I actually think it's a miracle in our generation that me and Georgia got texts from our dads and were like able to go get a coffee with someone completely random.
And like, my dad told me to text you and I found your Instagram. I was like, I'm not texting her, like, that's scary. I found you on his Instagram and I was like, no, I don't want.
Well, I mean, I was acting from a place of probably like desperation. Like, I literally did no one.
Fiona texted me and I was like, yeah, I'll go. Like,
so, out of interest, why did you transfer? Why was your first so uncomfortable for you?
What a journey.
So I went to the University of Santa Cruz in California for a year, and first of all, I got into absolutely not one school that I wanted to go to out of high school. I was shooting too high. My dream school was Bates, which is like this small school in Maine, and I would have actually hated it there, so I can't even believe I wanted to go there. Anyways, I got into Santa Cruz and I surfed, so I was like, okay, like, why don't I just be like a surfer chick for 4 years? Like, I didn't get anywhere else. I got there, everyone smokes weed all the time. Everyone's on shrooms in the forest all the time. There's two niches. It's either like you're a furry, literally, in the forest, or you're like a super douchey surf bro and say the N-word. And like, I didn't fit into either of those.
And you didn't make one friend? Like, literally not one?
The only friends I made were people from New York City. There was like a group of 5 of us that grew up in Brooklyn. Those were my only friends. There was such a cultural difference. I'm sure you would probably have it in a much different way. To me, like, bi-coastal, the girls there, I actually don't think they liked me, and I don't think I liked them. And I was too abrasive, like, I needed to know, like, when we were meeting and where, and they're like, we'll just go to the quad later, like, smoke a J. And I'm like, but what time? Like, I can be down to smoke a J, but what time? I need to know. And I don't think that it was, like, a cultural fit, and I hated it.
There's a big cultural difference. I will say, you got into some really nice East Coast small liberal arts schools where you were offered a rather large scholarship. And you did not want to go. And I'm just putting a pin in higher education. 2 points I want to make about higher education. One is that it's, at this point, a very liberal place to be at all.
Yeah.
And I would imagine Jody would have a lot more to say about that, and like the quality of discourse and what can even happen in the higher education. But then also that the way, what it costs here versus what it costs there, and how fucking ridiculous it is. But
Look, the reality is, it's you know, it's not as important as it used to be. Okay. Okay. So the reason I wanted my girls to go to college in America is because I knew, I went to university in the UK, I went to Manchester University, I absolutely loved it, but I had maybe 8 hours a week of classes or lectures, and the rest of the time I was stoned. I was literally just, you know, clubbing and doing drugs and having lots and lots of fun. And I just knew how much more structured the American system would be, and there'd be more to go on. I also wanted them to go and live somewhere else and be super brave. So I remember with Katie, who went to American in DC, it doesn't come as easily to her as it does to Georgia in terms of making friends. And she kept it together, and in about the October I went to visit her, and she kept it together for about 48 hours, and then she burst into tears, and she was like, I'll do anything. I've made a terrible mistake. I'm homesick and I'm lonely, and please can I come home? And I said no. I said, I'm not rescuing you, sweetheart. You're going to make this work. And the minute I took that option away, she made it work. And I remember her coming home for the first Christmas saying, thank you, Mum. It's what I needed to hear. Far too much rescuing going on.
Oh, good parenting, Jordan.
Oh my God, the parenting is so
hard.
Unless you are going to be an engineer or a doctor or something that actually requires education in order to do that job, I can't really see what you can't find learning on the job. If you are fortunate enough that your parents are willing to pay the exorbitant fees to let you have 4 years to enjoy yourself, you're just a super lucky a young person, and you know, bully for you. But that poli-sci degree ain't doing nothing for her career. It ain't getting her any further than someone who doesn't do the poli-sci career.
I will say though, Northeastern, for me, like the co-op thing has given me so much peace of mind. I never would have known how to make a resume, how to have a real interview that wasn't just like a chat with someone that I know. So there is a lot, I think specifically Northeastern, not all American universities, there is a lot that I've gotten out of that process. And now when I graduate, I'll have 6 months on my resume, and that's way more than any of my other friends have.
Have you done the co-op, Fiona? Have you done it?
I'm doing it next semester.
Okay, so same as Georgia.
Yeah.
And are you staying in Boston?
Yeah, Georgia's going to Australia, Mom. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. What part of Australia?
I'm going to Melbourne.
Oh, it's supposed to be very cool. Never been.
And another example, like, so Georgia met a young man right at the end of last summer that she was like, I really like him, Mummy. And then like halfway through, about 2 weeks in, she was like, I'm thinking of doing my co-op in London.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Oh, yes, you
Okay,
did.
that's not what happened. That's actually just not what happened.
Okay, go on.
Making it sound like I wanted to do that for him. That's not true.
No.
Okay, I was homesick, and I was homesick, and I have been homesick. Like, I love London a lot, and I love Boston, but like, I really love London. I want to come back here once I graduate, and So I was thinking, when I was looking for co-ops in Boston for what I want to do, there aren't that many options, and I didn't love the idea of moving to somewhere else in the US. And I thought, okay, well, let me just look into some options in the UK, and there are so many more here, and there's so many in London. So I texted my parents, and I was like, hey, like, could I like come home? Like, you know?
And
no.
we said,
how about you go to Australia? Check out Melbourne. I'm like, okay. So I did, and I applied, and I got it, and like, I honestly, I don't really want to go that much, but it'll be fun.
It's going to be insane. It's going to be so fun.
Okay.
It's going to be so fun.
It wasn't because of a boy.
Okay, well, I take it back. It wasn't because of a boy. It
Hard
was
to
because of
say no. Can we talk about how hard it is to say no? You can't.
To our children.
I feel like it's like I struggle so much, and it's colored by my own history of not really having nurturing parenting at all. So I'm like, I want my kids to always feel like they can come home. Like, this is the place they can always come. This is the warm, cozy, safe place. But then I also want my kids to go forth and grow and feel good about themselves and be adults and do all the things that are the next stage. And so I struggle with What's the line? Like, come home, don't come home. Like push through, don't push through. Like, we don't know.
Yeah. And I don't think I have a problem saying no.
No, I was actually going to say, I was thinking just now, and not to inflate your ego too much.
Thank you.
But I always thought that my parents were very good at finding the balance between letting me have freedom and letting me feel like I can come home and talk to them, and also not letting me take it too far. I acted out a little as a kid to the best of my ability for having such relaxed parents, but I still tried to like push back against them, and I thought that they always handled it very well and found a good balance.
Why, thank you. That's very kind. It is, look, when you are, and I too sent my kids to the fluffiest of fluffy of schools. I remember we talked before you came on, Fiona, I was asking your mum about whether or not you were in any way athletic, because my lovely girls are not. And so I remember sort of going to, when Katie, her first sports day, she had like parents weren't invited to sports day because we would ruin it. Yeah, it was one of those, we'd make it too competitive. It was that kind of school. And she had a big rosette on saying first. And I was like, oh, darling, what did you win? And she said, Mummy, I shouted the loudest. So it was that
It was
kind
like when
of,
I got cast as Alice in the school play, and we were doing Alice Munn, and I was like, no,
I was Alice in my school play in 5th
I
grade.
had to tell her that I was one of 8 other Alices because they wanted to make sure that everyone had a part.
Okay, so super fluffy. So in the sense,
Well, that's how you guys, but this is your generation. We grew up, no one's feelings are allowed to be hurt. And we grew up with your feelings are hurt basically all the time. And it's nice occasionally when they're not hurt. Like, and you get
default is the struggle.
default
It doesn't sound nice though.
it's not. It's both, right? It's all both. It's all both,
Remember, I mean, I did live in a nurturing home. It was very busy. I have many siblings. I'm the youngest of 6. We didn't all live together, but it's different. My dad had 3, my mum had 2, then they had me, so I've got lots of...
So an active home, your mother, your father, there was so much going on.
There was a lot going on. It was, but again, you raised this earlier, Tara. There was nothing to do. I hit a ball against the wall with a tennis racket on my own for like hours on end, or made up games in my head going on. So, but look, it was different. Okay, we can't blame the next generation for being, it was just different. I don't know if it was safer. I don't think it was safer, but our parents weren't as worried. Okay, so we would say, bye, Mum, I'm walking to the shops, down the road, and you would go off. I still wanted to do that with my kids. I'm like, go and walk to the store. You have to give them independence and be able to do some things. But with Georgia, I don't mean to... I think your childhood was so comfortable, and Dad and I were so accommodating that there was nothing to push back against. So she found stuff to push back against. Yeah. This is the only person that's ever made me go and sit in my room and cry like I didn't quite know what to do. I tell you what, because again, going back, Katie is just...
Okay, Katie was a dream.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I just didn't have a combative adolescent relationship with her. So, and when my friends were finding their adolescent daughters difficult, I was like, well, they're doing it wrong. If they did it like me, they'll know. I just had a really nice kid. And Georgia, as adolescents, it was also COVID, okay? It was COVID.
Yeah.
It was awful. You were stuck at home. I think back to what we did to you, and I'm horrified.
Same.
Horrified. We took 3 years out of your lives at a crucial time. We closed your schools. What were we doing?
It's insane what happened, and I am... that's what scared me and started to turn me a little right. I was like, I bought in. I bought in completely.
Me too.
Completely.
I didn't, just for the record. I was like the #1 person that was like, I don't care about math. I don't care about this. Like, I'm going out.
Good for you.
But I did too. Like, I was going out.
You were going out. I think
to the park.
I think what Tara means about buying in is we assumed, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Tara, it's not even that long ago, I thought the people in charge knew what they were doing.
100%. That's what I mean by buy-in. Like, mask, I was like, I don't understand the droplets. I was having.
We were told people were going to die. Okay,
Yeah.
and as a good citizen, you just listened.
Yeah.
And then the story started getting a little bit unbelievable. Like once I knew, for example, that the vaccines didn't stop the spread. I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Then why does that? So, and it's made me deeply suspicious of orders, I think, now, and just taking for granted.
Institutions or government or
both, and also in that way that it turns out they don't know what they're doing. It turns out people in power really don't have a clue. They're winging it like the rest of us. And
just devastating.
Devastating. It really wobbles me, and it wobbles me more and more and more. You know, we have a new government, well, they're not even new anymore. It's been 18 months in this country, and I voted for this government, for the Labour government, because our previous government was 12 years of just shocking.
Wait, tell me again. Labour is what there? You have Labour.
Labour is left of centre, so it's the Democrats.
Yeah.
So our Labour Party came out of the trade union movement in the UK. We, like you, have a very two-party system, exactly like you. So the Conservatives are on the right, Labour was on the left. But just like Bill Clinton did in the early 90s, Tony Blair in this country in the mid to late 90s did the same thing. That old tax and spend liberalism wasn't working in modern economies, and people would no longer be prepared to be taxed to their eyeballs to pay for everything else. So like Bill Clinton did with his New Democrats, which is, you know, it needs to be welfare to work. You can't be, you know, we even changed our language from unemployment benefit to job seekers. You were no longer unemployed, you were seeking work. Et cetera, et cetera. And then we had 12 years of Conservative government rule with, it started with David Cameron, and then of course Brexit happened. So in the Conservative movement in this country was always in the same way that the Republicans have a very sort of active nativist section, you know, it was focused on immigration and focused on closed borders. We had, our right-wing party had an anti-European wing to it. Mm-hmm. We've given up our sovereignty, we've given up our power to these unelected bureaucrats in Brussels. They are elected, by the way. We have European election. And they've taken it, and then in their opinion, the worst thing that could have happened is we opened our borders to other Europeans, because the European zone was, like the American zone, borderless. So, you know, French, anyone, a member of the EU, could come and live and work in the UK freely. And at the time, I too, in my left-wingedness, I voted to remain. I still think we made a horrible, horrible mistake, but I blamed the loss on racists. I said that the people who voted to leave were essentially racist. Same thing we said about Trump when he won first time. Yes, the people who voted for him.
Every single one of them is misogynist. Every single
misogynist,
racist, bad,
core, absolutely, bad. Binary choices, absolutely. And what I've learned now is, you know, there were, for example, hundreds of thousands of plumbers and electricians, British ones, who found their Polish and Hungarian counterparts would come over and undercut them significantly in terms of salary. And these guys found that suddenly they weren't able to keep a family. The problem in our country, unlike yours, is immigration isn't the problem. Integration is the problem. We are not integrating communities very well. And this has shown, again, completely in my opinion, with the massive rise in anti-Semitism we've seen in the last 2.5 years. In the UK, it's been across the world, but it's here. We have pockets of the UK, and it's not as bad as you're seeing online. It's actually getting quite upsetting. I don't know if this comes up on your social media feeds, but on mine it's, God, look what's happened to London. It's a failed city.
I've seen it on my feeds.
That is not
London
true.
is no longer London anymore.
Now, London has definitely changed. There's no doubt about it. We have pockets of and areas where people are not integrating. And it does feel a bit weird. I got off the tube in a place called Whitechapel a few months ago, east of London. And it's like, wow, okay, this is unlike the London I'm used to. It's incredibly, I think it's sort of quite a Bangladeshi area, and that's
Right.
absolutely...
This is why, like, the history is so important, right? Because you think of New York, right? You could go back through, and there was, the Irish are here, and they're undercutting us, and they're taking all of our jobs. The Italians came in, and they took over the entire, this industry. It's like all over New York. It's that. Oh, the Koreans are undercutting everybody because they're doing this and taking those jobs. So, like, where does it end?
Well, I think what America does much better is the integration of those communities. There is you come in and you buy into the culture. You buy into the American culture. The leader of our opposition, a woman called Kemi Badenoch, I don't know if you've come across her, she's sort of Nigerian-born. I didn't like her at the beginning, I'm finding her quite impressive now. She made a big sort of furore because she turned around a few months ago and she said, not all cultures are equal. And the left had a slight meltdown. And in my opinion, what she meant by that is, if your culture is misogynistic, if your culture is homophobic, if your culture is anti-Semitic, no, it's not equal. It actually isn't equal. And if you come here and you believe in female genital mutilation, or you believe in forced arranged marriages, and if your daughter doesn't concur, you get to, kill her in an honor killing, no, those cultures are not compatible with our... But when this was called out, and I don't know if you're following the grooming gangs.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay, Fiona, are you?
No.
Okay, it's been, and this again, I think this is where Tara and I are finding it. People, the worst thing someone can be called nowadays is a racist, correct? It is, and it is, it's an absolutely awful label, but the fear of being called racist in this country is being led to some people's appalling behavior not being called out. So the grooming gangs in certain, you're aware of this, really?
In northern, yeah, they're...
So in various northern towns around the country, what was happening is young, white, working class girls who didn't come from particularly nice families and they weren't being looked after, and they would, they'd skip school and they'd hang around city centres, were being groomed by predominantly, and not all, but predominantly, and this has been proved, Pakistani men, British men of Pakistani origin, who were grooming these young women and giving them free booze and alcohol and raping and molesting them horrendously and inviting their friends to do the same. And this went on for a long time, and the police and local authorities were terrified to call it out because they were scared of being called racist. And it's come out now, and we are saying the unthinkable things out loud. And that is not to say that Pakistan has a culture of rape. Some men in Pakistani communities, because there is an element in the culture they are coming from, encourages, sorry if you don't appreciate that kind of behavior. So
and certain dominance, male dominance, and it's accepted as, not broadly, right?
Yes.
Like, not broadly, in the same way that white Northern European people value certain things, that are a double-edged sword. Some of them are great, some of them aren't so great. You know what I mean? Like the way we value individuality. We were talking earlier. We value individuality intensely. We are also very lonely. You know what I mean? We value, other cultures value conformity, and they're less lonely, but they're more repressed. So it's like, but to what you're saying about, if you mention anything about Islamic cultural thing that you see happening, you're immediately labeled Islamophobic. If you're like, wait, that seems fucked. And so it's very, very hard to ask questions or be curious or try to understand something more deeply in a conversational setting for fear of being called Islamophobic,
100%.
And then
100%.
It's the difference between
or anti-Semitic or whatever.
To me, it's like the difference between being stereotypical and being critical. Like, you're allowed to be critical without saying I mean, obviously you guys know this, but all Pakistani men are like this. And there are people that are trying to call out these behaviors and are also being stereotypical, which is doing everyone a disservice, because then this argument gets worse and worse and worse. Yes. So that's where I have like a little bit of pause, because I'm sure there have been authorities who have been stereotypical towards Pakistani men about young women. But both are true, and this cannot happen, and it's not okay, and it is not the values of your country, and it shouldn't be the values. Yeah. So it's just hard because of how harmful stereotyping is for every community to have the kind of conversations.
Well, I think you're right, my love, but we were told that a multicultural society was possible, okay? Mm-hmm. What I'm learning now, that in order for a multicultural society to prosper, there needs to be an inherent culture in that society that everyone rallies around. So you can bring your Islam, your Hinduism, your gayness, or, whatever identity group, but it has to come into that existing British culture and in the case of American culture. Because we've constantly been told that pluralistic societies are the most important things for democracy. So we said in the West, we said, come on in, come on in. I think, and this is where I've gone slightly, and this is not me, I listened to this on a podcast, but I think it's a brilliant analogy. This man said, let's imagine you're sitting around a table, you're having a meal, and there is a meat eater, and then there's a vegan, and then there's a vegetarian, and then there's a fruitarian, or there's someone who doesn't eat dairy, and you can all sit around the table and have a wonderful chat. Then a cannibal wants to come and sit at your table. Yeah? You don't get to invite the cannibal. The cannibal doesn't have an equal place at your table. And please don't hate me for saying this, Trump's gone way too far on this. His language is disgusting. It is offensive and revolting. But what I've kind of like, and what he doesn't tiptoe around, is acknowledging that no, not all cultures are equal, and we have to call out the ones that are not cohesive and conducive to the values that the West holds dear. Yes. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. If a value of yours is kill Jews, that is not okay. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter who you are. It is not a value that is in alignment with a civilized culture.
I don't think it's a value. I think it's just hatred. It's not a value. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, or do you think it is?
Well,
no, I
yeah.
agree.
Okay, you agree with who?
Fiona.
Fiona. Fiona, I so want to believe you. It's been, so Georgia can vouch for this. Pre-October 7th, 2023, I should tell them what the family used to call me. Yeah. The family used to call me Jihadi Jody, okay? Jihadi Jody, because I went on every peace delegation to Israel, went into Ramallah, met with like-minded people who I thought were our partners for peace. I still believe a two-state solution is the only solution. I question how we get there. I was little Miss Liberal on the left, genuinely believing that we had a partner for peace on the other side, and I was comfortable in my centre-left position. When George Floyd was murdered, I took the knee, I did whatever was required.
Same.
Yeah. When Harvey Weinstein, I believe all women, I did all that. And then October the 7th happened, and the people I thought were my allies just weren't there for me. And this was and quickly I realized within 3 or 4 or 5 days that this was going to be a shocker. This was going to be an absolute eye-opening. So I have been radicalized. I
have a similar thing in my friend groups here, okay. And I'm like, and I compulsively see both sides of situations to an annoying degree. Yeah. Like I'm like, oh wait, I really see your point of view, and then I read all, and I'm like, oh my God, they're right. But then I go to the other people, and I'm like, oh no, they're right. That's true too. I am like I feel like I'm going crazy because I really see both sides, and then I feel like there's no place for me in the world because I'm like,
I've been struggling with that a lot with
Yeah.
just because I have like one side of it very close to me, my community, my friends, my left-wing media, like, because I am very liberal and like all of my social media is as well, all my friends are as well, but then at the same time I've got my family who are giving me the other side, and it's very difficult to look at either and be like, well, you're wrong and you're right.
Maybe we as people in the middle need to normalize that set of value systems to think about both sides as being correct and let that be the norm. I think that we're good people for seeing both of that.
Yeah.
And I think that having anyone who in my life who is so convicted in one way, either side, I'm wary of. I'm like, this is weird to me. So like, I think that for me, I'm attracted to people that are like that, like in the middle.
Things that
I
are
agree.
deep are complicated. And like when people say it's complicated, it's not a cop out.
No.
It's because it's fucking complicated. Like,
I think on both sides I've seen so much, like, there's such a lack of willingness to discuss it. And it's become so stigmatized and so like, well, if you have this opinion, then it's because you're a bigot. And if you have this opinion, it's because you're blah. And I think it's just, that is the main issue with having such a polarized community, is that there is no conversation. No one wants to hear each other out.
and you're terrified to take risks. We live in a historically black neighborhood. So, and all of my black neighbors, they want more police. They all want more police. They don't want to defund the police. They want more because they want more quality of life stuff being handled. They want more foot
On the beat. Yeah.
not on the beat.
Yeah.
The beat.
Yeah.
Cruising,
We'll go with it.
cruising by, everyone wants. And so, but like all my super progressive white liberal are like, the police are pigs. And I'm like, the first person you're calling is the police when you're struggling and scared about something. So I found like a huge, and then I got involved in this block association because we didn't have one. And
She's actually the president.
Congratulations, Madam President.
I had
Yes.
a very open conversation. I said, guys, I don't think I'm the right color human being to represent our block. I don't think that's going to go over well. And they were like, no, you're the right color.
Excellent.
We want you to do, they said, they're going to listen to you. And so then I'm like, oh, fuck, because I already am loud, hence the name of this podcast.
Yes.
I'm already like a presence. I'm already, a whole thing, and now I'm going to be like a white crusader. Oh my God. Like, and literally all I want is the garbage.
I think you've just nailed it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm really struggling with white middle class liberals at the minute because this is my Trump's first term. I lost the plot. The man lived rent free in my brain. I reacted to every tweet he sent. I was so disgusted and outraged, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night and go through my Twitter feed and be like, "How can this be?"
Same.
And I, because I thought it was an aberration.
Yeah.
I thought Hillary lost. It was James Comey. It was his emails. It was the thing. She didn't really win. He only won the electoral college. He didn't win. It was an aberration. He was never coming back. And then he came back with increased majorities. Where from? Hispanic and black neighborhoods.
Yes.
And I'm like, Jody, you might have to acknowledge that not everyone thinks about immigration the same way as you do, and they're not racist.
Yeah.
Yes, these are poorer people competing for resources and, moving thousands of people from the border and dumping them in New York City. The people competing for those resources are predominantly young Hispanic and black men who, this is where his thing went up. So it's the man. The man himself is just, I can't believe young men might look at that and think that's what I'd like to be grown up. That's what kills me. But come on, white liberals now. And can I just change this? And it is a topic I'd really like to talk about, but it's because they said that you had the right white face to do so.
Well, and then I was like, no, but I don't want to do this because I know I'm going to be. And then we just had a block walkthrough. In the group of 10 people, there was like 2 white people, and then everyone else was black, all the people. And then I was like laughing because I was like, it's cold, guys. And I jumped up and down, and I saw somebody like pull out their camera and maybe start to film me, a bystander. And I felt terror in my heart because I was like, out of context, they're going to be like, that white woman is jumping up and down saying, come on, guys.
Oh, wow.
Out of context when I was like, whoa, it's cold. Because they were all complaining it's cold. And I was like, well, let's move our bodies. And
So that's where your brain went.
I was literally terrified, and I was like, my life's over. I'm about to get canceled right now.
Wow, you're canceled.
Right, lady.
Wait, but I'm interested. What part of this debate do you and Georgia disagree about?
Oh yeah, and Fiona and I had a lot of stuff around. Here we go, slut shaming. When I would be like, what the fuck with that bra and that outfit and that whatever, and can we like dial that down?
Oh, you would say to her?
She would say I was slut shaming her.
I'd say she fat shamed too much.
Oh, ouch. Okay.
Did you say that?
Fair enough.
Fiona says that too.
Well, you did. It's just the thing I didn't like about it. It's like, I can't control that my boobs are gargantuan. Like, I'm 13. What do you want me to do? Just dress like a nun? Everyone else is wearing this. Why is it my fault that a guy's gonna look at me? Like, I was just like, who cares?
She made a very valid point, and I was like, it's not. She made the point, which was this. She goes, Mom, when I wear my chorus outfit, which is black pants and a white button-up shirt, I get catcalls on the street. So I was like, dude,
it doesn't matter. Like, no matter what my body, you can see the silhouette of my body no matter what I'm wearing, in my opinion.
And
so why don't? And if I'm gonna be catcalled or be objectified, why can't I feel confident while doing it? Like, what's the problem?
So I got on board and I stopped, but in terms of divergent opinions about counseling too, like we got in a lot of arguments about this stuff, especially in high school. And I don't know if this is a Gen X thing, because like I think we all just grew up being sexually assaulted all the time, and we just didn't.
100%.
I mean, I was like, oh, that's dating. Oh, no, I didn't even know.
So bad. Like, but we have to find a middle ground. Like,
I know, but I'm not saying I'm right.
I'm going to say something that.
Not saying I'm right.
I remember being in situations with men where I didn't really want to go there with him, but it was impolite to refuse. Yeah? Mm-hmm. It was literally impolite. And God forbid, I would hate either of my daughters to feel that they ever had to do anything. And I've always said, when you say no, no means no, etc., etc. Fiona, your mum and I don't trust men. I think that's crucially what it is. We were raised in a far more
defensive,
gendered world, where men were the breadwinners, and they did win. And you know, my mum didn't go out to work; she stayed home, and my dad earned the money, and mum parented, well, she thought she did. And men were dangerous. So we looked at your outfits and we thought she might not be safe looking like that. But we were wrong, and you are absolutely right. He needs to control himself. Absolutely. 100%. And the point you make about, it didn't matter what you wear, you're a gorgeous girl with your lovely, gorgeous big boobs, you were going to be, you know, men were going to notice you regardless. They were going to catcall you and call you whatever. And it isn't up to girls to decide. We can make better decisions to not put ourselves in dangerous situations. I mean, I think back to some of the situations I put myself in.
100%.
Oh, God, no, you know.
Well, yeah, and then I struggle because then, like, when I would get really drunk, every horrible thing that happened to me with men in my teenage years was when I was drunk. Every single one. There's not one that happened. So then I'm like, and this is like the conservative liberal thing, because conservatives say, you're responsible for what happens to you in this life, basically. How much money you have, how much, whatever. The liberal thing says, no, society is responsible for you, right? So the conservative value in me goes, I drank 92 tequilas, do you know? And like, I put myself in a bad position. And then
so how
the liberal view is, no, those men were wrong. And but they're both true.
Absolutely.
It's like
so
they were wrong.
What was your advice to Fiona when she was going out drinking or going to parties? What did you tell her?
Well, can I add the elephant in the room context? My mom's sober. So I grew up never seeing an adult drink. Never. All of her friends were sober. I was not around it at all. So when I first started drinking, it was literally the first time I knew what the difference between tequila or vodka was. Like, I knew nothing about alcohol.
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, always was like, I'm genetically disposed to alcohol, and I myself was very careful around it because I thought that I would become an alcoholic if I drank, like literally. So like I was like the lame one, like all of my friends were drinking, and I was like, I can't do that. But then my remedy to that was to be like sexually devious. So like they could drink, smoke, and do whatever, and they were cool for that, but I was cool because I was like making out with guys and like whatever. So like that was like my remedy to it, which is like funny. No matter who your parents are, no matter what values they are, you always have the thing that you have to rebel in. So for me, it was like,
yes, I thought I would say, because I'm in recovery a very long. I'm sober 29 years. I got sober very young. So, but I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic. I don't want to live that life, you know. So I'll either, the choice is die or be sober. So I'm sober. But I would say, look, I have this thing. There is some studies that addiction and alcoholism does run in families. I am not saying you are destined to be an alcoholic. I'm just saying that alcohol, it's not to be fucked with. Like, you drink, but don't drink in a way that you're going to get hurt. I don't want you to get hurt. And I would.
But the culture is so different in the UK because it's accessible. You can do it younger. And I think, I don't know. You'll have more to say about that because Georgia, you've experienced both of it.
But my kids drink in my house. I let them drink. They get drunk. They have parties. We have alcohol in the house. I'm very I don't want to be live in a binary world. I just can't drink safely and still be a functional human being, you know?
I think that was my thing growing up, because my mom's not a big drinker at all, and never really has been. I don't remember you getting.
No, but I'm a functioning stoner. I'm absolutely a functioning, you know, I would say I'm a functioning drug addict. I'm just, my choice of drug, I was lucky in my choice of drug. And I don't smoke weed, I smoke hash, which doesn't get me absolutely mullered, but it's something that I do, and I do it every day, and my girls know. I remember do you remember when I told you?
You didn't tell me, Katie told me.
Oh, really? Is that what happened?
We were walking down, me and my sister were walking down the hill to school, and she goes, do you smell that? And I was like, yeah, what is that? She goes, that's weed. Ever notice how our house smells like that? I was like, no way.
Do you know, I remember telling Katie, I think she was about 15, I was just like, I want to tell you something because I don't want to have to keep it a secret. And I'm not proud of it, and it's not cool, but mummy smokes dope. She gets stoned on occasion.
Mummy smokes dope.
Mummy smokes dope. That's the name of our podcast today. That's our episode.
That's our episode title, Mummy Smokes Dope.
Mummy smokes dope. But I too, exactly like you, Tara, I knew that my kids were going to try things.
Of course. And I knew they were growing up with sober parents. Yes. So it wasn't, I grew up with everyone had a drink in their hand every second. And I thought having 5 scotches before bed in the evening was totally normal. I went to other people's houses, and when their parents didn't have alcohol with dinner, I was like, what are we in kindergarten?
Meanwhile, the first person I saw drink that was an adult was my friend's mom, and I was 12, and she was having a glass of wine at dinner, and I was like, we have to call the police. This is not okay. Someone is seriously fucked up right now, and
these kids need fostering.
We need adult supervision, or else I'm going to die. What is going on?
So long. So many of my friends are sober so long, and then we all had kids, and there's a big recovery community, you know, and so it's my friends are a lot of, you know, because I work in advertising and I around drinkers all the time. So in my personal time, I tended to really enjoy being around my sober friends because I felt more relaxed. Yeah. You know, for me. In the same
way, I'm not blaming you at all. It was just a funny, because it's just the opposite.
Hilarious. I love that. That is very, very. I think it sounds like the same. This is the house that teenagers could come to and do shit that their parents, because they're going to do it anyway. I'd rather them do it here and be safe.
And I would still sneak out and go drink in the park.
Exactly. So there's a little outhouse round there, which is all graffitied and thingies, where they could go and smoke dope. They could drink. Katie never. They both had their 1 or 2 drinking too much and being sick. Georgia hosted the after prom once and was so drunk she missed her own after prom. But was a bit
here's a hot take, right? Yeah. We raised our kids pretty liberal and progressive. someone once explained to me the swimming pool, which is parents are the sides of the swimming pool, and your kids are learning how to swim. So they go out to the middle, and then they're like, I don't like it, I'm scared. And then they go back to the side of the swimming pool, and then in order to go back out, they have to kick the side of the pool to go back out, to go be adventurous. And so you have to be the firm side of the pool that they have to kick to go back out. And I remember being like, oh, I don't want to be the firm side. This sucks.
And I don't want to be kicked.
I don't want to be kicked. I don't want to be the firm side. So I think a lot of liberal parents, because we're like, we want to be cool. I want you to know sex, whatever, be gay, be this, drink whatever, drink, smoke. Like, but we don't hold enough of a firm side. So I actually think a lot of these kids have to go so much farther to rebel. Because someone once told me, if smoking pot in the house is okay for the whole family, then what's rebellion? Cocaine. Yeah. Heroin.
Yeah.
Like
why aren't you smoking crack?
Do not. It got in my head, which is like there has to be a line somewhere, because the line is where they're gonna push away from. So
luckily for me, like I think because it was so relaxed, and when I was trying to rebel, it was kind of COVID time, so like I would rebel in the only ways that I knew, which was like going out, except I'm allowed to do that, so I need to go out and I need to do things that I'm not allowed to do, like whatever, and I would come back and bad thing. I think I just got lucky in that like it would never be a thing of you being like angry in the sense of like, I don't know. I suppose
once. She's never been
I got grounded.
Never been grounded.
I got grounded.
Georgia got grounded.
I got grounded for all the Christmas holidays.
Okay, no.
Years.
What she did. So it's COVID. So after we moved back from LA, Craig literally did 2 weeks London, 2 weeks LA. So I did a lot of single parenting. The girls were here.
Exactly. So many meals on the table.
Absolutely.
Just fucking
like hard. I can't claim I cook for them. Let me just put that out there. Anyway, so I'm sitting. It's a Friday night or Saturday night, and I think Georgia was probably about 15 at the time, and she did have a curfew, which I think
wasn't why you grounded me.
It was.
It was.
Oh, it was about. I think her curfew was midnight at the time, and it was COVID. Anyway, midnight, and the one thing she's always allowed me to do and is follow her. Yeah, follow her on the iPhone, just so I knew she was safe, and if I ever need to get to her, and that was fine. So 12 o'clock comes, 10 past 12, quarter past 12, and she's nowhere, and her phone is not, so clearly she's run out of power. And then it's 12:30, and then it's 1 o'clock, and now I'm really starting to worry. And at about 1:15, my phone goes, unknown number, and I answer the phone, and it's, hi, this is the London Ambulance Service. Georgia is fine, but she's had a bit too much to drink, and we're bringing her home. So I open the door to my idiot teenager with her idiot friend who are so drunk they're like, and there are these two gorgeous young paramedic women who are literally saving people's lives because it's COVID and people are dying, and idiot here is wasting time being drunk. Anyway, I sent the two of them upstairs, but because she was underage, it becomes a safeguarding issue. They had to sit me down in my kitchen and take my name and my details and find out. And then...
Well, they want to know, are you taking care of your kid?
100%, quite honestly.
Yes, I'm trying.
So on the Tuesday, I'm at work, and the phone goes, and it's, hello, is that Jody Newman? Yes. This is Camden Young People's Alcohol and Referral Unit. We're phoning on behalf of Georgia. And actually, I loved it because they were like, do you need any support? Can we help you? Which I loved. And that is something brilliant about, when you have a child in the UK, a midwife from our NHS, from our National Health Service, will come and knock on your door and say, 3 or 4 days or 5 days as a newborn, are you okay? Can I help you? And I was fine. I had a partner, but if you're a single mum or single... Anyway, so I say to these lovely people on the phone, I said, that is incredibly kind of you. I'm all right. I teach adolescents. She's my younger child. I'm getting used to it. But if it's okay with you, I'm going to use this as a cautionary tale.
And this is what she does. I'm at school, and my mom texts me. She goes, "I'm picking you up today." And you know, it's bad if my mom's picking me up from school. That's like when shit's going down. So I'm like, okay, this is scary. I walk down the hill from my school to go get into the car, and I get into the car, and she sat there in silence, and she kind of turns to me. She goes, "I've had a call from Camden Council, and they're concerned about your welfare. And I just want to let you know that if something like this ever happens again, and if you ever get in trouble in this way, you will get taken away, and I will get put in jail. Would you like me to get put in jail, and would you like to go live with some random family? Because that's what will happen." So I'm sat there and I'm crying. I'm like, I'm so sorry, Mom. Like, I didn't mean for this to happen. And that's not what happened.
Okay.
I found this out less than a year ago that she lied about it.
I don't think I said you can be taken away from me if they don't think I'm raising you
they're
properly.
going to think that I'm an unfit mother. You're going to get taken away from me, and I'll get put in jail.
I didn't say I was going to be put in jail.
You did.
Anyway, it worked.
Yeah, it worked. It worked.
It worked. It made her think again. It made her think twice. It was really stupid. It was stupid behaviour, and she didn't. And luckily, nothing bad happened. Yeah, luckily nothing bad happened. But no. Look, it's.
Well,
I don't think there's any wrong or right way to raise your kids. I think what our children also have to realise is we come into this as fully fledged humans, and we don't know what we're doing. Like, seriously, I was 29, just 29 when I had Katie. I suddenly had this baby in my arms, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. You know, we make it up as we go along, and
it's your mom's first time living too.
Yeah, 100%. Like, we're going to get it wrong. I think I did say sorry when I think I got it wrong, which is something my mum absolutely never did. Will you give me credit for that? I would say I really shouldn't.
But I think it took both of us. Like, it was maybe when I was 16 that we figured out how to live with each other.
I didn't grow up. Parents were just always right. Even if they were wrong, they were right.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
So it was like, I do think that's generational, that our generation learned more.
Yeah.
Say, I'm responsible for this behavior that is not okay, and boom, 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 you know? Yeah. And like, which is a positive, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But I think it's kind of like what Fiona said, like, it's your mom's first time living too. Like, I didn't realize that until I was 15, 16. Like, I just thought you'd have all the answers, that you'd know what you were doing, and da-da-da. And I think it was about when I was like 16, like, we just kind of figured out how to make it work, and
together.
Now we get along very well.
We do get on great, and I'm so super proud of my relationship with both of my girls, and it goes back to thinking that politicians know what they're doing.
Yes, I was just going to say that. And it's scary for kids when they find out their parents are just human beings, flawed beings, and it's scary for us as citizens to be like, oh, these structures and these people that we thought were so smart and thought and so good are not as smart and good as we thought, and it's scary. You know, there's a big parallel there. The kind of spirit of this thing is like, what do you wish you know? Like, I like the idea of this podcast being an artifact that our children can go back to and say, oh, that was some, you know, I don't want to say wisdom, because I don't purport to have any wisdom. I just have my experience.
So basically, at the end of every podcast, we ask, what do you know now that you wish you knew earlier, for both Georgia and Jody?
I wish I was happier in my own skin growing up, okay? I was always super confident, super everything, but I was always a bit too this and a bit too that, and I wish I had my 54-year-old head in my 16-year-old body. And this is what I want you two to know. Being a woman just gets better. It really does. It just gets better and better and better. And you get to live with yourself and with your cellulite and your scars. It was brilliant. I was showering upstairs, and Georgia went, "What's that on your belly?" And like, "It's my estrogen patch." And, you know, and I've got like bits of adhesive. Yeah, there was this brilliant woman the other day who said, "I'm in a cult and our brand is that those bits of adhesive that you can't get off your belly because
I'm in the cult. I have a brush now that I brush it off with."
Me too. And I just want you to be less concerned about, do you look pretty? Are you thin enough? Are you good enough? Because we're never going to be any of those things, ever. Yeah, we are. And so when you realize in your 40s it started maybe, and definitely in my 50s, and with my gorgeous group of women around me, we are just enough as we are, and we're not the thinnest, and we're not the prettiest, and we're not the cleverest, but we are just as kind and lovely as we can be. So stop comparing yourselves to your friends and and I don't know how you do this, because you are confronted with Tara and I got to grow up at the best time in human history. I truly believe that. Yeah, we got the post-war peaceful generation. We didn't have technology, so we had fantastic childhoods learning to play in the garden without technology. Then we got technology. We had enough freedom from our parents, and they didn't kind of helicopter us. Culture, music, all of these things, but mostly peace and prosperity and tranquility. And I think we got complacent, and it's done that. And I think the world is just cyclical. We'll go through a shit time, and we'll get back to whatever. But I just want my girls to always. I look, and I know that all of their self-doubt is something I had, but that breaks me to see them doubting themselves at a young age, and I can't fix it. They're going to have to work it out for themselves. So that's all. What would you say?
I mean, this isn't.
It's harder for younger people too, but
of course,
you already have so much wisdom at age 20, 21, all the than when you were think about your 15-year-old self. Like, what would you tell an 8th grader or a 7th grader, knowing what you know now? You know,
I mean, I think it's like in a very similar vein to what you were saying, but I think just like comparison really is the thief of joy.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
And I think that's definitely something I still struggle with, and I probably will never be able to stop. Like, I think it's so difficult to just like stop comparing yourself. But I think that is like where the majority of my self-doubt, the majority of everything, like that's definitely where it all stems from. Like, and I surround myself with so many wonderful people that like it's hard to not, like all my friends are so great and I love them and it's so awesome.
But that's what's so interesting, because as a teenager I'd had those same friends, but I'd be like, but she's thinner and she's got better legs, and now I'm just like, aren't these women extraordinary? And
I think I don't look at it necessarily like, oh, I see my friend who's like prettier or smarter, and I look at her and I think, how dare she? Like, I don't think it's I don't remember which way it is. It's like the distinction between jealousy and envy. Yeah, I can't remember which way around it goes. But I don't think I look at any of my friends and think, how like this isn't fair. Why does she get to be better than me? I think of it as like, wow, like thank God that my wonderful friend who's so amazing to me has all of this. But like, man, I wish I had that too.
Okay. Oh, well, that's a good. I think it's jealousy, and that's better than envy. I think that's the way round. I bet Tara can. Yeah. As great as my husband is and lovely, it's my girlfriends. My girlfriends are the absolute joy in my life. I have a group of girlfriends. We do girls' nights. We do girls' trips. We constantly chat. We hold each other up and we big each other up. And if someone's had a success that day, it's like, oh my God, are you not the best thing ever? And that's where I get my joy, from these incredible women around me. Incredible women.
I think, compare and despair. I always love that one. Compare and despair. I think, like, if I could have any minute back I had in my of not liking my body, I wish I could have it all back. Every single minute back. Every minute back. It is the most supreme waste of time. It is so sad to me. Like, I just could weep for my 20-year-old self who went
100%.
Who thought I could control the world by controlling my body, in some way, or control outcomes, or that my lovability and my desirability was based on like how much fat was put in one area of my body versus another area of my body, or whatever. It's pure madness. And I felt like we've come so far. But then now I'm like, wait, what? Have we? Because like girls who are 22 are getting lip injections and Botox and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, it's cool. Like, again, it's self-determination is cool. Like, yeah, you can smooth out your skin and never get a wrinkle. Yeah. But is that better? I don't know, or is that good for the world? Is it good for society? I don't know.
Question for the next time.
100%. 100%.
So
I will say that what I love now is I look at my girls and I go, it's your turn to be fabulous.
Yes.
It's not that I'm not fabulous, but I've done like you. It's your turn. You go out and you be goddamn fabulous. And then, so I stopped myself shop like 20 years ago. I'd shop in the same, shops as them, like the kind of cool whatever. Now I'm like, no, that's there. They get to shop there and they get to choose. That's not for me. It's their turn to be fabulous. I'm just fabulous in a different way.
Different types of fabulousness.
Different types of fabulous. But this has been so much fun.
So fun. All right. I'll talk.
Thanks, guys.
Lovely to meet you.